Living in Scottsdale, Arizona allows you and me as residents to be amazed by the initiative and inventiveness of Scottsdale's city employees. Which brings us to today's subject, Godzilla. Godzilla. What does your imagination conjure when you hear that word? Do you imagine the prehistoric creature from the 1954 Japanese film, The Monster That Trashed Tokyo? Or do you imagine the dinosaur from the 1998 remake with Matthew Broderick? That creature trashed the United States. Those creations were imaginary. Scottsdale, by contrast, had its very own, very real Godzilla, and it was into trashing in a very different way. Those celluloid movie monsters, those Godzillas, were imaginary, but they were also the product of creativity and imagination. So was Scottsdale's Godzilla. The concept was formulated in the late 1960s to deal with a very serious problem. The serious problem was this: old-time trash pickup. Here to tell us more about how Scottsdale's Godzilla was enlisted to solve this problem is Mark Strager, the retired public service director for the city of Scottsdale.
We used a system that I think was developed in Tucson. It consisted of the swampers, the guys who picked up the garbage, filled 3 trailers that were about 8 feet square and 4 feet deep on wheels. And those 3 trailers were pulled behind a pickup truck, which also had a container on it. They filled those, and then they were dumped by a big front loader. So the idea was that the little trucks did the collection and the big trucks did the hauling. They picked up 10 tons a day, not counting the can. They emptied 10 tons a day. And so it was really hard work. Guys just couldn't take it. They had to be in such good condition and had to be able to tolerate, temperatures of 110 in the shade and working so hard. So we had a lot of turnover, we had a lot of accidents. Manual refuse collection in general is 3 or 4 times as accident prone, as hazardous as the next leading, which are things like logging and street maintenance, and so unfortunately we had a lot of accidents. The superintendent and I said, we just can't keep doing this. We've got to find a better way. And so we went to work thinking about it, talking about it, interviewing people. Los Angeles had tried a mechanization program that hadn't worked. We figured that the problem that they had is that they tried to pick up the garbage people put out. And we kind of centered on the idea of having a standard container. We finally found a guy who was willing to help us build a machine, and he had some ideas. And the ideas look like that. And so we had a grant, and it went like this. First phase, figure out a way to pick up the containers, try out the containers, let everybody see what they think. Second phase, if that works, if it's popular, we had to build a truck that would work for this initial phase, where we just wanted to find out if we could get people involved in the idea of using a standard container. And we went with that for 3 or 6 months, or I think 6 months. And at the end of that time, we hired a guy from ASU, so it would be, neutral, and he found that it was overwhelmingly popular. Meanwhile, in order to do that collection, we built 2 trucks. And the first one was Godzilla. We were building this arm that was going to grab the containers that was fitting in this forklift frame. And one of the guys working on it was Chuck Kalinowski. Chuck was a transfer from the fire department. He was a pretty good mechanic. He was kind of frustrated because the pieces didn't fit. and he said, what do they expect us to do anyway? We're building a monster here, a Godzilla. The guys who heard that thought that was a great story, and so it became Godzilla and has been. And then, of course, when this more advanced truck showed up, it was the sun.
Over the years, Scottsdale's city employees have added innovation after innovation to the process of refuse collection until today, where we now in Scottsdale have a state-of-the-art refuse collection system. Here to tell us more about that evolution and about the contributions of Scottsdale's creative employees is Dan Worth, Scottsdale's Executive Director of Public Works.
You know, this really is evidence of the legacy of what Mark and his staff did 40 years ago. And not just the fact that we got one sitting behind us, but that everybody in the industry is using it. The big commercial providers are using them, all the other municipalities in the valley, most of them across the country, they're using what Mark Spergier and Scottsdale employees developed 40 years ago because it's the right way to go. It's the most efficient way to do business. We're continuing to innovate, and one of the things that was our move into clean energy, clean fuels, compressed natural gas. We're buying compressed natural gas trucks, not just the side loaders, but our brush trucks and our front end loaders that we use for our commercial. I'll tell you, compressed natural gas, cheap, plentiful, clean fuel, American produced. We're not alone. The rest of the industry is looking at it and moving towards it. A lot of manufacturers are making compressed natural gas trucks and adding them to their fleets, but I will tell you that we are at the forefront and continue to be at the forefront as we buy new trucks and expand into that. So we're still right at the forefront, innovating ahead of the industry and leading the way, and very proud of it.
If you're a parent of a child who is fascinated by one of these refuse collection trucks, or if you're a parent who is a child fascinated by one of these refuse pickup trucks, you can arrange for a ride-along. Just call the City of Scottsdale at 480-312-5600 and you can arrange a ride-along. The Scottsdale employees will arrange to pick you up at your home, take you on a 20 or 30-minute ride through your neighborhood collecting refuse, and at the end of that time, we'll see you safely deposited back at your home. And the next time you see one of these trucks on your block, remember, this whole process started with Scottsdale Employee Innovation and Initiative and a monster named Godzilla.